You know, the ultimate competitive advantage isn't about working harder or even knowing more stuff. It's about the code that's running your thinking in the first place. The thing is, most of us are running on some pretty buggy, outdated software we never even chose. Today, we're going to change that. We're going to explore how you can upgrade your mental operating system.
So, what really is the strategist's edge? What's their secret sauce? Is it better data? A crazy high IQ? Nah, those are just the apps you run. The real power isn't in the apps, it's in the operating system itself.
Exactly. The real edge is your mental OS. Think of it like the base-level code that dictates your decision-making, your problem-solving, and basically your entire perception of reality. And like I said, most of us are running on autopilot with old software. Today, we're taking back control.
So here's our game plan for this upgrade. First, we're going to learn to see the invisible rules that actually shape our world. Then, we'll install some new software in our own minds. And with that new OS, we'll learn how to start architecting the outcomes we want. Finally, we'll pull it all together into a brand new, powerful strategic toolkit.
Okay, let's dive into Pillar 1, Decoding Reality's Hidden Rules. This is all about learning to see the invisible forces that are constantly shaping your world, from what's going on inside your own mind to the big systems all around you. To really see clearly, we first have to admit something. We're all being guided by these invisible scripts. You know, the default settings we almost never question. And the most powerful of these scripts? Well, they're the ones running inside our own heads. We're talking about cognitive biases.
Let's start with the big one, confirmation bias. This is our brain's natural tendency to act like a bodyguard for our beliefs. It lets in any information that agrees with what we already think and, well, it fights off anything that challenges it. It feels kind of comfortable, for sure, but it keeps us trapped in an echo chamber, and it stops us from seeing what's really going on.
And this quote from the Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman just nails the core problem, doesn't it? Our biggest blind spot is that we don't even know we have blind spots. So the very first step to decoding reality is just accepting that our default perception is, well, it's flawed.
And it's not just confirmation bias, oh no. You've got to look out for things like anchoring. That's where the first number you hear in a negotiation secretly steers the entire outcome. Or the availability heuristic, which is the reason we're all scared of shark attacks after watching one movie, even though they're super rare. And then there's the famous Dunning-Kruger effect, where the less you know, the more confident you are. You know, that little peak of Mount Stupid before you realize how much you have to learn.
All right, so once we're getting aware of our own internal scripts, we can start to decode the external forces, the world of influence. You've got hard power. That's the obvious stuff, the stick and the carrot. But the more potent force, a lot of the time, is soft power, the ability to make other people want what you want, just through attraction and persuasion. Understanding that difference is absolutely key to seeing what's really happening in any situation.
And finally, in this section, we have to see the hidden connections. Systemic risk is this idea that what looks like a tiny, isolated problem can actually trigger a massive, catastrophic chain reaction. Just think about the 2008 financial crisis, right? One small part of the system failed, and it cascaded through the entire global economy because of all these hidden interdependencies nobody was paying attention to. Seeing those connections is a huge part of decoding reality.
So, we've decoded the external world. Now it's time for Pillar 2, upgrading your mental OS. It's time to turn our focus inward and start fine-tuning the processor itself.
The first thing you have to learn to manage is your cognitive load, your working memory. It's like the RAM on your computer. It's incredibly powerful, but it has a really strict limit. If you overload it with useless junk or a clunky process, everything just slows down. And your performance, it totally tanks.
So, how do you manage it? Well, first, you chunk information. Don't try to memorize a long string of numbers. Group them into smaller, meaningful bits. Second, offload everything you can. Your brain is for having ideas, not for holding them. Use calendars, use notes, use whatever works. And third, use spacing. Cramming for a test, it just overloads the system. Learning that's spaced out over time sticks way better, and you don't get as tired. But look, managing your mental RAM isn't enough. The single most powerful software upgrade you can possibly install is intellectual humility. This is the absolute core of a true learning system. It's the active openness to being wrong, the understanding that your current beliefs are just provisional. They're not set in stone. Without this, your OS can never truly update itself.
And this is best understood when you contrast the fixed and growth mindsets. Someone with a fixed mindset sees failure as a final verdict on their abilities, which they think are static. But a growth mindset, which is fueled by that intellectual humility, sees failure as data. It's just a necessary, crucial part of the learning process. One is a closed system, the other is an open, constantly evolving one.
And that growth mindset brings us perfectly to our final pillar, architecting desired outcomes. Once you can see reality clearly and your mind is actually open to learning, you can finally move from just reacting to the world to actively shaping it.
So here are 3 powerful levers for shaping those outcomes. Reciprocity. Give value first, and people will naturally want to give back. Scarcity. The limited time offer that makes something instantly way more desirable. And framing. Is a yogurt 20% fat or 80% fat-free? Same yogurt, but the frame you choose completely controls the perception and, by extension, the decision.
A really critical tool for shaping outcomes is getting a deep understanding of opportunity cost. Every single time you say yes to something, you're also saying no to literally everything else you could be doing with that time or that money. So the strategic question you always have to ask is, what am I not doing by making this choice?
Shaping your environment also means you got to protect what you build. This is where you create legal shields. An LLC, for instance, builds a firewall between your business assets and your personal assets. A trust helps you control those assets for the long haul. The key principle here is using these structures proactively to define the rules and protect yourself before a problem ever has a chance to show up.
Okay, so let's bring all this together. What does this new strategic toolkit, this fully upgraded mental OS, actually look like when you put it all into practice?
It's basically a unified 3-part system. First, you decode reality. You see the invisible scripts, your own biases, the power dynamics at play, the hidden systemic risks. Second, you master your mind. You manage your cognitive bandwidth, and you install intellectual humility as your core software. And third, you actively shape outcomes by using strategic levers of influence, sound economic principles, and smart legal protections.
At the end of the day, this isn't just about thinking better. It's about gaining real agency over your reality. The code is now yours to write. The architecture is yours to design. So, with this new upgraded OS, what reality are you going to build?